Hi there, YouTubers and YouTuberettes. Hey, the old guy is sitting in the shade again, hiding from that sun outdoors. It's actually cooler today. It's almost been like a 10-degree drop in about the last week, so it's kind of nice. You know, our highs are now running 96, and that's warm still. But what I'm finding this summer is the ultraviolet itself just seems so harsh. I read one of those vids, who knows where they were, claims that the who's are pumping in the where out the ass end of great big airplanes, and then they claim they're not doing it. Well, anyway, that garbage up there is also assaulting the ozone, causing real issues with the upper atmosphere. I mean, this is just one of a long laundry list, and you probably already know this. But anyway, I just feel like they're saying that one of the new rays that are getting through, there's oh gosh, I wish I could remember the names. I think it's, I forgot the vitamin. But in other words, it's for, what is it, not calcium, what's the junk you get out of the sun? Vitamin D. So I think it's D1, D2, or 3 or something, and then there's another 4. No, it's UV, sorry. UVA, UVB. These I've been familiar with. But the atmosphere, the way it was designed, was fantastically designed and tactically carried out, brilliantly designed. And that ozone layer filtered out UVC. It had nothing to do with vitamin D. Sorry, I got carried away. But maybe you could, overdose on vitamin D too. I don't know. But anyway, that would be a real problem. Anyway, it just seems so harsh to me this summer. I don't know. Maybe I'm just because I'm getting old and, grumpy and stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you guys a story. It was just, this is like Mike Orama. I was sitting here in the living room and I thought, well, I'm going to boil me some eggs. So I thought for myself, first of all, I got to remember to come back in about 3 minutes and just remember kind of when it starts boiling. I want to let it boil 6 minutes or something. And then I just let it seep in the hot. I'm just making hard-boiled eggs. 48 minutes later, I got caught up in a couple of videos. I burnt my hard-boiled eggs. I mean, the pan was completely dry, and it was like superheated. I think I ruined the Teflon coating, by the way. And one of the eggs was already cracked, and it was, in other words, the heat was beginning to destroy the structure integrity of the weight of the egg on the shell. And the egg was beginning to fail. So anyway, I ate burnt boiled eggs. And it's like, hey, that guy's not exactly what we'd call a chef now, is he? And it's like, and then, you know what I did? In the same pot, an hour later, I put in, I just opened a can of ranch style beans and just dumped them in. What I meant to do was warm them up for about 5 minutes, 6. Let them cool off and eat, stir them up, just eat them. Put a little black pepper, some salt, whatever. I burnt the beans, and I burnt the beans so bad that they stuck. They're like welded to the Teflon. I can't get them off. Maybe I'll show you that pan tomorrow in one of my videos, just as, evidence. But right now it's just all wet. It's not going to be good lighting in here, but maybe I could show you. Anyway, it's just crazy. It's like the world's worst cook. Well, on the second one, I decided to get in contact with an old friend. There's going to be it's like a reunion of friends, young people. We were all in our early to mid, maybe in the late 20s. In the early 80s, I went up to a place called a Bear Trap, which is outside of Colorado Springs, and it's a campground, and we were working on doing the construction on a large log building, and I'd never done that kind of work before. And, it wasn't exactly like it was paid. I think we were getting $15 a week, but basically our food was there, we had shelter there. What else do you need money for? So it wasn't like we were out, gambling and dancing every night. But at any rate, we could go to town, but it's kind of a long drive. It's kind of about 11 miles one way, as I recall, but I'm kind of making that part up. It may not be that far. Anyway, it's a long dirt road. And, one of those bumpity, shock absorber eaters. And, but it's kind of maintained by the Forest Service, I think, with a blade, like every 6 months or something. I don't know. But anyway, heading up there later in the month of September, and I was just kind of thinking ahead, and I thought, well, some of the things that, besides burning eggs, how do you burn eggs? It's like burning water. It's really what I did. But, as I'm just kind of contemplating all this and stuff, I noticed this morning, I woke up, and this is kind of what I really wanted to talk about. There's a guy at VEJON, Vejon Health, and it's a British-sounding guy as he speaks, I think. All that who knows? He may be from Canada, for all I know. Some of those guys sound like that. People can make themselves sound like that. I don't know where the guy's from, but I guess he lives in Britain. But anyway, interesting dude, and he's been following up on the problem. And the situation is now they posted a video which I saw. I just happened to capture as I was scrolling through because I do like this guy. I thought, well, I'll just drop in and listen. It was shocking. It was crazy. So I forwarded over to that other platform, and I put a header on it and sent. Well, I woke up this morning and I thought, well, it was early. I had time, to scroll the videos for a while. It was like 5:45 or something. I can't remember. And I thought, I'm just going to take a look at that vid again. There was some really interesting images in there. And I thought, well, I don't want to have to go back to Facebook, so I just thought I'll just look it up in YouTube. No, you won't. It disappeared. Vamoose. And I don't know if this Vision Health has also thereby been halted in publishing anything for 7 days, as I was one time, for some really wild statements I had to do with you-know-who and you-know-who else. And so anyway, it was just weird. So in other words, as far as I know, if you're interested in looking at this, and I think you should, this is like, I'm calling it the smoking gun. You take this plus the insurance premiums being paid out in an unnaturally high fashion, statistically, because see, that's how they're controlling their rates in insurance. They can statistically predict when you're going to die. Now, do they know for sure? No. But they have pretty good numbers. That's how they make a profit. Well, those insurance companies are really taking it in the neck. These claims coming in, and claims for disabilities are going through the roof. Guess what they all have in common? And so anyway, the embalmers that this guy's looking at are showing what looks almost like, if you can imagine, spaghetti done wrong. In other words, it looks almost like noodles, but it's way too stringy and tough, and it's almost like, trying to pull a piece of thread apart. You could pull it apart, I think, but in other words, it would be stouter than a noodle. This stuff was pumped out under pressure in order to get the embalming fluid to finally go through. The blood couldn't circulate. These things were blocking vessels from the inside. I don't know whether it was veins or arteries, and I don't know how you run back pressure, but it sounded to me like they were doing a circulation system for plumbing, But anyway, they rotated the pressure, and this stuff emerged, and they just collect all this guck. And this guy had samples in bottles. And you look at this, and you're saying, this came out of their veins? And he says, well, see, what we're saying as embalmers is that I don't care whether it's before death these things were formed or after. All I can really say is, I think this particular guy said, for the last 20 years I've been doing this, and I can easily contact people who've been in it for 40 or even 50 years. This is not normal. We've never seen it before. Late, I think, 2021. Huh, wrong. We leaped a century ahead. But in other words, I don't know all the details, but it was a very interesting discussion between guys who are expert in embalming, especially one guy in particular. And it's just a great vid. It disappeared. Guess what? Too much information appeared for somebody's likes, now didn't it? Because what that means is that the thing was obviously premeditated. They're still hiding the evidence themselves. They're still sitting on the numbers. They're still broadcasting their hokey pokey fairy tale about, when was the last time you heard safe and effective? Was that the magic verse there, the follow the science verse? Amen. I follow the religion of science. Well, what are the tenets of it? I don't know. I'm waiting for CNN to tell me. And if you keep moving the goalposts, anything you want to talk about progress just becomes garbage. It becomes nonsense. You're defeating your own mouth with your own lies. Shut up. So at any rate, as Christ moves forward in his church, in other words, with all this chaos, darkness, and insanity collapsing, it appears that the universe it's just, everything's closing in. It's just nuts. And yet in the darkness, his light is shining brighter through people just like you. And you know what he's asking you to do? He's asking you to testify, and you don't have to remember some damn magic recipe. You don't have to become, spotless and before you can talk. Or you don't have to go get a college degree neither. No, you're allowed to talk as a human being. You're just welcomed as a brother or sister, And he's just so good. So he's going to teach us how to learn to talk like he does. In other words, to speak plainly, or if necessarily, to speak cryptically, or to speak with authority and power. He speaks things into being, and he is himself the Word who is spoken. He's the very image himself of the Father Almighty. in human form. There's nobody like this guy. He's like off the scale good. In fact, he busts the scale. Hey, I got another busted scale. What do I do? Don't bother getting another one. He's going to break them all. But we do, and we shall. Keep making the same dumb mistakes over and over and over again. But there's a new dynamic in the world, and the hopelessness of those who hate him is not your hopelessness. You have the true and the living hope within you. And he says that our hope is, in 1 John, I believe, is that when we see him, we know that we shall be transformed and made like him. It's a supernatural thing. Well, you'll still look like you, I would hope. But the thing is that your new body, it's a real flesh and blood body, just like Jesus's is. But it is now eternal. You're an immortal now, with light. And I'll probably need welding goggles in order to look at you, without putting my head out. Oh, you're killing me. But at any rate, we don't really know how good it's going to be, but we do know that he is light. He is the fountain of wisdom. He brought all things to be. He is our inventor, the designer of our hearts. And that's why we desire him. He is the ultimate desire, ultimately, when we get past all the Corvettes and blondes, and high-powered rifles and all the guy stuff, or whatever the girl stuff is, diamonds. Who cares about diamonds? They do. Or decorating with little figurines. Why? But whatever. I'm not saying that's invalid, I just don't understand it. But the point is that when we look through new eyes, eyes of faith, we have to confirm with our mouth what the good confession is. And if we have no one to preach it to, except ourselves, we must. But here, we have an option right here. There might be a listener someday who hears this. So listen up. There's only one of you. Hey, leave a like. I actually don't care about that stuff. I'm not here to get popular or famous. It ain't going to happen anyhow. But at any rate, Jesus shines through you. How? He indwells us by the power of the Spirit. And the Spirit is the one who brings to mind and applies the textual word called the Bible. That's why we expose ourselves to it. So as an example, I sat down last night and just got on this thing. I don't have enough time to read. Okay, then I sat down and I just played the book of Colossians and I sped it up. Because I didn't like how slowly he was talking. It was like, I sped it up to I think 1.75, almost twice as fast. And there was just quickly speaking, not as fast as an auctioneer. I could still, clearly hear the words. But in other words, in that frame of listening, I call it power listening, and I don't do it a whole lot. I should do it more. But really what I'd want to do is just set aside an hour, put Isaiah, I like the ESV drama version, but, whatever you like. ESV is okay translation, it's good. And just hear the words. And in other words, it's happening so rapidly you don't have time to get distracted or interrupt. Zip it. And just listen. And so it's an interesting thing because your mind can easily keep up. And as you go along, you recognize, oh yeah, I remember this part. But it's like, wow, I never realized how it was part of a much larger picture, And so in other words, you need to immerse yourself in the counsel, the wisdom called the Holy Scriptures. I got one over here if you need to see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure you've seen what Bibles are. And you can get them online for free. But at any rate, you are like me, you're a human. And so you're thinking, man, things are getting dark, things are getting crazy. So these things that are popping out in embalmers bottles, and then the thing gets erased. There's a thought for you. That's telling you that somebody's striking pretty close to home. That the evil overlords don't want some things made public just yet. We haven't brainwashed you far enough for that. And so in other words, it's a little bit like if you can imagine a nice smooth pond on a pretty calm day. Maybe a light breeze. You got very small ripples out there maybe. Okay. Take a small pebble and just pitch it out in front of you 15 feet or, whatever. Bloop, you see her go in. And you watch that concentric thing coming out, processing outward. And then if you'll ploop in a couple of 2 or 3, then you can see these wave pattern intersections. And you get interesting formations there. I like observing that type of topology. I don't know. I'm sure there must be a mathematics behind it. I don't know any of the math. But at any rate, well, by the way, I just wanted to mention, I did watch a young lady today. She's just a delightful young lady. She's beautiful, smart, young. But anyway, she's talking about these math dimensionality. It's kind of like ideas. And she illustrated how a girl in 2D could believe her, jewels were in a safe. And she can't see from 2D how we could enter through 3D through a surprising and invisible angle to her. And so she had a demonstration of what it would be like if 4D intercepted 3D. I just found it. She's a wonderful presenter. I sure hope her channel does well. And if I knew how to do that link stuff down below, people do that all the time. What am I, a computer wizard? Get out of here. You're doing well to know that there is a recommendation out there, and sometime if you recommend it in comments, I'll give you the name. I'll look it up, all right? I don't remember names. I do remember faces pretty well. Oh, by the way, it's about 4 o'clock. Today it's Coors. I was over at the grocery, and really what I'm looking for is a darkish beer. Like Corona Familiar or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to start having a beer here after a while. I still want to get outdoors before that, but I want to let that sun go down some. There's a whole gang, a big old slug of weeds out there that just need to go away, and I just don't like weeds. But what today I'm going to do is I'm going to water that area first, let the water soak in, and then that way, because see, I don't like just pulling weeds. I like jabbing down right beside them, kind of like an intercept vector. Crunch, you leaner, and try to pop the root out of the ground. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And some of those weeds have tremendous roots. It's amazing. You finally get the thing out of the ground, and you think, no wonder that thing keeps coming back. If I let it come up just once and leave it alone, it'd be like 2 inches thick and 20 feet tall, or whatever. It's like, that's a heck of a weed. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know. I posted today again on that other channel, and I said essentially, hey, look, somebody's getting a little too close. In other words, the evidence is becoming obvious. And remember now that the CDC, that godlike authority that never errs and has sanctified glorious statements, only always spoken truly and with pure integrity. Which one was that? Yeah, CDC. I'm sure you heard of them. Anyway, they to this day will say that the official U.S. accounting number for proven cause known, DOA or otherwise, has anything at all to do with, you know what I'm talking about, needles that came on way too fast, and they asked me to be the experimental animal. Do you ever ask rabbits to become experimental animal when you're going to kill them, and stuff? I'm just curious. Make it, sign it over so he can't sue you? I don't know. But anyway, making legal deals with rabbits. Who saw that one coming? But anyway, I just wanted to talk about it because it just freaked me out, because I've heard about this banning, and then there's this other thing called shadow banning. I don't know if this is the same thing or not. But the health thing, I think I'm going to get back to their site itself and send them a message if I can. Let them know, hey, I've noticed for one at least, that thing was pulled. I object. If there's a way to have my name added to an official response to YouTube to challenge this to get it back on the air, because it's true. It's true. It's just like Ed Dowd and his numbers that he's getting out of these insurance companies. They're getting it taken in the neck. Group policies, people 15 to 45, supposedly our healthiest element of the society, statistically speaking, they're falling over like rocks. Even little kids having, you know what I'm talking about, iditis, cardio, adios. And if you can imagine, even, are they trying to set up even babies with this stuff? I'm hearing babies are being diagnosed with what? What stuff? It's like, well, how do you like this picture of my baby boy or girl? Fine, how old was this one taken? Just about 5 minutes before he died. Or she died. What do you mean died? Yeah, he was 8 months old, and he stood up, tried to lift his little rubber ball to roll it down the hallway, and fell over dead with a heart attack. Don't you think that's just a tad peculiar? Isn't that an unnatural amount of, shall we say, clotting? And they went in, and this proves that the whole thing is premeditated, because they're still covering their tracks as if we did no wrong. We're on the up and up. We're the white hats. We're the good guys. You're the damn pirates. You're the bastards that need to swing by the yardarm, and one day ye shall. Beware the Lord, he is fierce.